chapters 174 to 176. Ignorant mortal, do you really think you can kill me? Even the angel standing next to you doesn't have the ability to kill me, let alone a mere mortal like you. Even if you possess the power of a god within your body, I still don't take you seriously. And even if you truly have the ability to kill me, do you understand the consequences? Your planet, your entire universe, will suffer catastrophe because of your foolish decision. Marcus remained as arrogant as ever, fully convinced that the mortal before him had no chance of killing him. Even if, by some miracle, this mortal had the ability to end his life, the cost would be unbearable. The consequences would be devastating. This universe, this entire dimension would be destroyed because of one reckless action. That day would come soon. Seeing Marcus's overwhelming arrogance, Krillin and the others clenched their fists tightly. Even now, bound so tightly that he couldn't move, he still carried himself with such an air of superiority. They couldn't understand where he found the confidence to be so arrogant in front of Goten. Even the Grand Priest and Zeno couldn't harm Goten, so how could this so-called demon be an exception? Goten, hearing Marcus's words, frowned slightly. Then a playful smile appeared on his face. "You've reached this point, and yet I still don't know where you get such confidence," Goten said. "For me, killing someone like you is easier than crushing an ant. As for the so-called power behind you, I don't care at all, because if they dare to invade this universe and cause trouble, I will bury them all here." Goten spoke with unwavering seriousness. He no longer feared the Grand Priest or Zeno. After comprehending the power of the new laws, he was confident that he could stand against them. The moment his voice fell, Goten suddenly clenched his right hand. In an instant, Marcus's body began to compress. Crack! Crack! The chilling sound of bones cracking echoed. As Goten applied more force, Marcus's body contorted into an unnatural shape. Bulging veins spread across his body, his facial features twisted in agony, and fresh red cracks formed in his eyes. Clearly, he was in excruciating pain. "Damn! Damn mortal! Let me go!" Marcus roared in agony. "Do you even understand what will happen if you kill me? This timeline, this dimension of yours, it will be completely destroyed." The searing pain and the shadow of death looming over him shattered Marcus's arrogance. Panic replaced his former pride. He never expected that this mortal would truly dare to kill him. "Didn't you just say I wouldn't dare to kill you?" Goten sneered. "Then watch me. I'm not just going to kill you. I'm going to make sure you suffer before you die. Feel every ounce of pain. Experience something far worse than hell itself." A bloodthirsty glint flashed in Goten's eyes. He feared neither the Grand Priest nor Zeno. A mere demon like Marcus? He was nothing. Even if he had the backing of a demon supreme Kai, it meant nothing. To Goten, they were just insignificant clowns. No matter how strong they claimed to be, they could never surpass the Grand Priest or Zeno. And if they ever dared to set foot in this dimension, he would make sure they were buried here. "You bastard! Let me go now." Marcus's voice trembled with fear. "My father is the dragon god Zalama. If you dare to kill me, he will make you pay the price. Your entire timeline will be erased." For the first time, Marcus revealed the powerful figure backing him. Dragon god Zalama. The very being he referred to as his father. Of course, he wasn't actually Zalama's biological son. He was a demon created by the dragon god Zalama through mysterious powers, just like the Super Dragon Balls. "Oh, dragon god Zalama?" Goten raised an eyebrow. "So your background is quite strong, huh? You have such a powerful father? But do you really think that will save you? I'm sorry to say this, but no one can save you today." Hearing Marcus claim that Zalama was his father, Goten was slightly surprised. After all, Zalama was a legendary figure. He had been mentioned in Dragon Ball Super, but never actually appeared. Some even rumored that he was the former Grand Priest. It was said that because of his ambition to usurp Zeno's position, he was completely sealed away. A being who was sealed by both Zeno and the Grand Priest? To be honest, Goten didn't care at all. Now, continue to feel the slow agony of death. With that, Goten clenched his fist tighter. Crack, crack, crack. The sound of Marcus's bones shattering grew louder. His body had been completely twisted and deformed. If it weren't for the mysterious power restraining him, Marcus could have regenerated from a single remaining cell. But now, every single one of his abilities was sealed. He couldn't heal. He couldn't escape. All he could do was feel pain and wait for his end. Boom. For 2 whole minutes, the pain continued. Finally, Marcus's body exploded under the intense pressure. He disintegrated into a cloud of black mist, then vanished without a trace. Even his aura had completely disappeared. The moment Marcus was killed, everything fell silent. Zamasu's expression twisted in sheer terror. Marcus was far stronger than him. To put it bluntly, Marcus could have erased him in an instant. Yet this so-called invincible being had been crushed so easily by the mortal standing before them. It truly was easier than crushing an ant. Even the evil Saiyan Cumber, who was still being suppressed by Broly, looked horrified. Without Marcus, their side had no chance of turning the tide. At this moment, Cumber felt the true despair of powerlessness. The battle was already over. Amazing! That was incredible. That kid? He looks so much like Kakarot. Could he be Kakarot's son? If that's the case, then this kid is far too powerful. Bardock had stopped fighting Goku. He turned to look at Goten, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. This boy's face was nearly identical to both himself and Goku. Was this truly Goku's son? Hey! As expected of Goten, he actually took down the most powerful guy without even breaking a sweat. I can't even begin to imagine how strong he's become. Goku and Vegeta watched in shock as Goten effortlessly defeated Marcus. Their faces showed a mix of astonishment and helplessness. If Marcus had been their opponent, even fusing might not have guaranteed victory. But against Goten, he was nothing. A mere insect crushed with ease. At this moment, hearts had completely surrendered, and Bardock had also stopped fighting. He knew that continuing the battle would only lead to his own death. More importantly, his earlier fight with Kakarot had only been a test, to gauge the strength of his youngest son. As for the evil Saiyan Cumber, he was being completely overwhelmed by Broly. If the battle continued, there was no doubt he would be finished. Cumber's strength was formidable, but Broly's rapid growth and improvement were on an entirely different level. Through years of training, Broly had learned to control his power much better than before. Now, only one other opponent remained, Z Broly. Unlike Cumber, he didn't seem to grasp the seriousness of the situation. Instead, he stood there, grinning at Goku, his hatred for him burning stronger than ever. Kakarot, Z Broly growled, but this time his gaze shifted toward Goten. He instinctively recognized that among all these warriors, Goten was the strongest, the one who resembled Goku the most. If he could take Goten down, then Goku, Vegeta, and the others wouldn't stand a chance. Even if they fused, they would never be able to match his power. With a roar, Z Broly's body flashed as he lunged straight toward Goten, his intentions crystal clear: defeat the boy, then slaughter the rest. "Watch out, Goten!" GT Goku shouted in warning as Z Broly charged. He knew firsthand that Z Broly's strength wasn't something to underestimate. Even if they fused into Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, they still might struggle against this evil Broly. But Goku's warning was unnecessary. Just as Z Broly was about to reach Goten, bang, bang, bang! A series of muffled impacts echoed through the battlefield. The next moment, Z Broly was sent flying backward, his body crashing into the ground. His chest bore several deep fist marks, and blood trickled from the corners of his mouth. But no one had seen what had happened, not even Vados. No one had been able to catch Goten's movements. They only knew one thing: Goten had attacked. And he had done so with such speed that even divine beings couldn't follow his movements. A chilling silence filled the air as everyone processed what they had just witnessed. The power gap between them and Goten was beyond comprehension. Despite his injuries, Z. Broly grinned. "Roar!" He let out a furious howl, his entire body trembling with rage. Then, clenching his fists tightly, he unleashed a terrifying aura that crackled with violent energy. In an instant, Z. Broly had transformed. Super Saiyan 4 Limit Breaker. His entire body became engulfed in purplish-pink lightning, each arc surging with unimaginable power. Is that Super Saiyan 4? But why is his hair purplish-pink? TN. Dunno the color scheme. Wiki says this, I think. Pinky, lol. His transformation is completely different from ours, and the energy coming from him, it's far beyond what we can achieve. GT Goku and GT Vegeta stared at Z Broly in disbelief. He was a Super Saiyan 4 just like them, yet the difference in power was overwhelming. Even their appearances weren't the same. Was this the true power of the legendary Super Saiyan? "Oh, that's unexpected," Goten remarked, surprised by Z Broly's transformation. Reaching the Super Saiyan 4 Limit Breaker form wasn't easy. Back when Goten had been imprisoned in the Void Realm, it had taken a perfect fusion of Super Saiyan 4 and Divine Ki for him to unlock this power. Yet Z Broly had achieved it on his own. A deep, guttural chuckle rumbled from Z Broly's throat. His lips curled into a ferocious grin. It was as if he had already declared the battle over. No matter how powerful this Goku look-alike was, he, Broly, would crush them all. This guy is a complete monster. GT Goku and GT Vegeta's expressions turned grim. Without Goten, they would have all been wiped out already. They never imagined the gap between them and Z Broly could be this vast. At that moment, evil Broly charged forward once again. Goten, however, remained completely calm. Then, in an instant, his black hair turned purple. Brilliant silver-tinted purple energy swirled around his body. His eyebrows disappeared, and his brow ridge became more pronounced. Perfect ultimate instinct. The perfect fusion of ultra instinct and ultra ego. Z Broly had broken past the limits of Super Saiyan 4, and his strength was undeniable. But even for Goten, defeating him in his normal state would have been difficult. "Roar!" Z Broly let out a monstrous growl, launching a devastating punch straight at Goten. Snap! The next second, his fist was caught effortlessly. Z Broly's body froze. No matter how much force he applied, he couldn't move. Goten didn't flinch. This Broly was undeniably talented, but he was far too uncontrollable. Too wild, much like the original Broly, a hellspawn, and such creatures couldn't be controlled. Thus, he had no reason to exist. "Begone!" A faint whisper escaped Goten's lips. Z Broly's body began to disintegrate. A flash of purple light consumed him, then he was gone, vanished into nothingness. TN, evil Broly, was the opiest of them all villains in this arc, author nutted for Z Broly. Then it turned into a purple starlight and began to disappear bit by bit. On the other side, Broly had completely dealt with the evil Saiyan Cumber. The team originally consisted of 7 people, but now only 3 were left. Among them, Hearts had completely surrendered because his goal was the same as Goten's. Hundreds of millions of years ago, he was also chosen by Angel Murno, making his identity very similar to Goten's. Since Goten was the person Murno chose now, Hearts would naturally follow him unconditionally. As for Bardock, he wasn't very scared either. The one who was most fearful at the moment was probably fused Zamasu. Although he didn't know Goten, the power that guy possessed was truly overwhelming. In just a split second, Marcus and Broly were eliminated. indicating that Goten's strength was outrageous. It seemed that the power of destruction was used just now. Zamasu, who had an immortal body, found that after combining with Black Goku, the effect of his immortality was much weaker. The power of destruction was likely to destroy his immortal body. More importantly, Goten seemed to have a more powerful ability than the power of destruction. Otherwise, it would be impossible to kill someone as powerful as Marcus. At this moment, Zamasu was already trembling. Goten's gaze finally turned to Zamasu. Although he had eliminated fused Zamasu in future Trunks' timeline completely, he didn't expect to meet this guy in this timeline. What are you doing? You can't kill me. I'm a high-ranked god, and it's absolutely impossible for me to be killed by you mortals. Although Zamasu was trembling with fright, he still tried to appear tough. He secretly glanced at the time ring on his hand. Although it might not be possible to defeat these guys in front of him, if he used the time ring, he was 90% sure he could escape from this place. In the next second, Zamasu suddenly used the time ring to create a space portal in front of his eyes. Then his body flashed and disappeared in front of everyone. What? The guy ran away. Seeing this, Trunks' eyes immediately became serious. He knew better than anyone that Zamasu was a very cruel guy. If he escaped today, he didn't know which timeline would be destroyed. Hundreds of millions of lives would be killed by then. But with his current strength, he couldn't stop Zamasu at all. And this guy also had a time ring. If he wanted to escape, maybe no one could do anything about him. Damn! If I had known that nasty guy would run away, we should have joined forces to get rid of him just now. Vegeta clenched his fists tightly and said unwillingly. For some reason, after seeing Zamasu run away, he felt very annoyed. Don't worry, he will die. Without my permission, if he wants to escape under my nose, he doesn't have the qualifications yet. After seeing the unwilling faces of Vegeta and Trunks, Goten said lightly, although Zamasu's use of the time ring could indeed make most people helpless, for Goten, who also had 5 time rings, it was too easy to find Zamasu. The second after he spoke, Goten suddenly swiped towards the void. A dimensional portal appeared in front of him. Immediately afterward, Zamasu's body suddenly appeared from the dimensional portal. He was directly grabbed by the neck by Goten. What? Impossible! I just ran away! Zamasu was completely dumbfounded. He thought he had just escaped. But why did he come back to this place again? And he was delivered directly to Goten. At this time, Goku and Vegeta also stared at him. The superpower that Goten now possessed seemed to be completely beyond their imagination. Zamasu had obviously used the power of the time ring to escape, but now he was automatically delivered to Goten. How did this happen? What the hell did you do, you bastard? Zamasu, caught by the throat of fate, said intermittently. Was he really going to die here today? With your little trick. Do you want to escape in front of me? You think too highly of yourself, Zamasu. Also, a candidate for Supreme Kai actually fantasizes about eradicating all mortals. You are way over your head. Now, just disappear from this world completely. Goten's tone was very indifferent. After finishing speaking, he directly used the power of destruction. In the next second, Zamasu's body turned into purple starlight and then disappeared little by little. Although he had an immortal body, after the combination of Zamasu and Black Goku, the effect of immortality had been weakened a lot. Ordinary destructive power was enough to completely destroy him. What's more, Goten had mastered advanced destructive power. To kill these guys, there was no need to use the power of the laws he had just comprehended. Everyone saw how easily Zamasu was destroyed. Each of them took a deep breath. The power of Goten had completely surpassed their imagination. Then, the last one left was the guy with the mask, hairstyle, and voice that was very similar to Goku. At this time, the masked Bardock also walked towards Goku and Goten step by step. He then looked at Goku and asked, Kakarot, Is he your son? Ah, Goku froze for a moment. He didn't expect this guy in front of him to know so much. Could it be that this guy was really his evil self in another timeline? Yes, Goten is indeed my son. Who are you? Are you Goku from another timeline? Goku nodded seriously, then looked at Bardock and asked, No, I'm not you. Bardock shook his head. Then he took off his mask. After seeing that familiar face, everyone was extremely surprised and looked at Bardock intently. This face and hairstyle were exactly the same as Goku's. The only difference was that this face was more mature, and there was a cross scar on the left cheek. Bardock? You're Bardock? The moment they saw Bardock, the two Vegetas recognized him instantly. Because they were older than Goku, they met Bardock when planet Vegeta was not destroyed. More importantly, when Bardock was on planet Vegeta at the time, he was a star-like existence. From a newborn inferior Saiyan, he rose to become capable of being a Saiyan beyond elite fighters. His combat power was even closer to that of King Vegeta. This dazzling record was probably very clear to everyone who knew Bardock before. Long time no see, Prince Vegeta. Bardock smiled faintly and glanced at the two Vegetas. It's unbelievable that you're still alive. The two Vegetas were also very surprised. Frieza killed almost all Saiyans on their planet, and Bardock was on planet Vegeta at that time. Logically speaking, with his combat power of only 10,000, it was impossible for him to survive the planetary explosion. However, Bardock ignored Vegeta. Instead, he walked to Goten step by step. Then he said with great relief, So you are my grandson? It's amazing you can become so strong.